Hitting the stream button. Receiving content. And we are live.
Great. From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Greek.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes the candles to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Meat Factory Podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
And tonight we have a great action-packed show for you. We actually watched like two things and at the same time, so they're pretty recent in our memory. We talk about YouTube stuff, people on YouTube, things we've seen on YouTube. All kinds of
gun stuff.
talk about guns. We're not going to advocate the overthrow of the Republic. We're just going to talk about guns. Everyone calm down.
That's why I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube of gun stuff.
Yeah.
And got back into the whole controversy of like the Sons of Gun stuff.
Yeah.
And I found out like, so there was another show on there, like it was just American Guns.
Uh-huh.
That guy too, like also lost his FFL license and was eventually charged with like some illegal shit and not reporting his taxes.
Yeah, it just doesn't help.
I mean, he didn't molest any children, so
He didn't have like a long-term sexual relationship with his daughter. And
no.
Okay, good.
But everything else, like, just like line and step, like
Yeah, every other shitty thing you can imagine that people do. You know, I've known a lot of people. I've known a lot of people that sell guns. I've known people that own gun stores. Never known any one of them to be criminals. But it seems like if you're crazy enough to want to be on TV and you're into guns, you're probably a felon. And I don't know why that is. Is that just the TV persona, or?
Probably, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know there because there was a slew of gun shows for a while there. Because there was one on Showtime. It only got one season.
Yeah.
I think it was I want to say it was in Vegas, and it was just a gun store in Vegas. But that one was interesting because it had a lady who like had a felony and came in, you know, was like, I don't feel safe, and she wanted to get a gun. And the guy's like, you have a felony, I can't sell you anything, or I can't sell any firearms. But here, I got some like mace and tasers or whatever.
Yeah. He can tell you a lot of other ways to disable people.
But yeah, that show didn't last that long. Yeah, just a year. And what else was it? And I think there was another guy who recently, after the Las Vegas shooting, they were interviewing him about something. I can't remember like what his. I think he was just a gun expert. I'm not sure if he has any kind of involvement with that stuff at all. Like, he didn't like, oh, I sold him ammo. I don't think it was that, but
Yeah.
that guy was working on a television show for some channel like History Channel or something, and they were filming the pilot, and they made a bomb with like propane, and like they blew it up, and it killed his wife.
Oh, wow.
Something like that, something crazy like that happened, and of course that show didn't happen. I'm not sure if that was the exact events. Like, I know his wife died under weird reasons, and the show never got greenlit. So I might be conflating some things there, but
Yeah, that's. I think I remember hearing about that. I'm not going to look it up, but I think it was they were developing some bit they might want to do on the show, and she died, but they weren't actually filming it. They were like, "Hey, they were doing like, how would this be fun on TV? Let's get out and try this, and then we'll pitch it to the people." And then she died. I think that was it.
yeah.
But yeah, that's no good. It's
Uh,
not helping.
So yeah, and then yeah, my favorite like gun channels on YouTube is Hickok 45, and then the other one's Demolition Ranch.
Yeah.
Um, shit, what's that guy's name? It's like Matt Kriker or something like that.
Dr. Matt Carricker.
Yeah, Carricker, that's right.
That's how you pronounce it.
So yeah, I thought this guy was like some military vet who like his family owned a farm, or he just like bought some farm and then just started shooting guns on his farm or whatever. So that's what I just thought the guy was, because and then I find out he's a veterinarian doctor.
Yeah. And his dad was, and that's where he got the farm, because his dad owns the business.
Oh, okay.
His dad was a vet too, I think. Veterinary vet. Well, he's not a vet. He's a veterinary doctor.
Yeah,
Not a veteran
he's
of
not a
war.
military vet.
No. But he's a firearms enthusiast who has a lot of fun shooting things in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, like we're talking about that. Like, I guess gun channels are defunded on YouTube, so he has a big Demolition. I think this is his merch store thing.
Yeah.
But one of his other channels is what is it? Vet Ranch,
Yeah.
where he actually goes and does his job. And that one, I believe, because there's no guns involved, is monetized.
Nope, it was demonetized too.
Oh, it was? Oh, they just said fuck him? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, that's that format. I mean, YouTube is notorious for, oh, well, we just don't like you.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to fuck you every way we can because we're the voice of whatever. It's like, oh, I thought this was a place to post videos and have fun. No, we have a bizarre social agenda baked into it, too. Oh, okay. So are the conspiracy theorists right? What am I getting?
Well, also, Google doesn't want to be like involved with we accidentally gave a whole propaganda wing to some uprising, and now we're under Nazi something. Anyways, however he makes money from these channels, that money goes to pay for all the operations that goes on in that channel. So seems to be a pretty good guy, I guess. It's what is it, San Antonio Stray Animals Association? That's what it's. So like he gets the animals from them, and then like he operates on them. So I watched one where it was a cute dog, but like it was dragging its front paw when it was like running around. So like it basically wasn't even using its leg, it was dragging it, so it was getting scabs and stuff on it because it was just dragging it on the ground. And he goes and he like puts some calipers on it, and it's like, look, it's pinching that, and like the dog's not reacting, and it's like, that means it's nerve damage. So we're gonna have to amputate. It's like, oh. So, and then but he also interestingly explains how it's like, I know people are thinking, it's like, why don't you just put a prosthetic on it? It's like, I know you've seen YouTube videos of like where people put prosthetics on animals, and it's like, oh, happy fun times, but it's like, it doesn't really work because it's not a part of the dog, so they just try to chew it off and stuff like that.
It's like putting boots and jackets on dogs, they just freak out. Yeah.
He's like, so I was like, he's already not using the leg, so he's not gonna miss it. So yeah, he amputates the dog's leg, and he's like, and the kind of the reason to do that is because like the leg's hanging out there, so it's picking up damage as the dog moves around. So the dog is going to die of some sort of infection if he doesn't like remove the leg. So
there's just going to be a tripod.
Yeah,
he'll get around just fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was running around because like that's how the dog was working when they found him. Like it was just running around 3 legs. It just had the other leg flopping around basically. Yeah, it could jump up on things and all that. And, it was a happy little dog. So.
Yeah, like I said, he didn't. From what I watched, and I've seen it in the past, but I watched more of them today. While I was sitting here working on things, and it's like, yeah, this guy seems like fun. I mean, I don't know what his political agenda is. I'm not going to ask. I can only assume. But
yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. Like,
no one's advocating the overthrow of the government on Demolition Ranch, or so. It's like,
some of the stuff he does, like just crazy gun nut stuff that turns me off to that thing. But I mean, he's in Texas, but so it's maybe more just common there. But it's also, I think he's comparing the different channels, I think he's affecting a character
Yes.
when he does like his crazy gun nut stuff. Like that's the character that we're just having fun blowing shit up.
Yeah.
He does that in his spare time. He is more concentrated on being a family man and a doctor and shit like that.
Yeah, this is just blowing off stress.
But and also has just an arsenal of weapons.
Why not? If you got the money. I mean, that's the main reason I don't shoot guns anymore. I have them, but I don't shoot them a lot. It's just too expensive.
Yeah.
That and gun stores started getting weird around here like 5 years ago. They started to take a tone and an edge where I was like, okay, I'm not liking this vibe, but whatever this. I knew that was always there. Again, not something new or astounding, but it's almost like you got to pass a political litmus test when these guys talk to you that I'm not going to pass. By and large, it's like I like guns. I'm not a lunatic, and I'm not paranoid. At least not about that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I sort of gave up. It's just like, where am I going to be able to do this?
When it comes to a couple of interesting videos, so there was one. It was a pistol that had an integral suppressor on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about like 4 inches longer than a Glock 17.
Okay.
But it looks like a future gun, but it has an integral suppressor in it, so
it's all built into the frame and everything. It's not screwed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird. There's actually like these segments of it that you can take off to make it shorter if you want, but then it's just louder.
Yeah.
But it would be shorter, but it's shorter than a Glock 17 if you had a Glock 17 with a suppressor on it.
Oh.
So
okay.
all in, it's like it's you're getting more with it. And he was shooting subsonic 9mm rounds through it because you can shoot just regular 9s, but then it makes a louder sound.
Right.
And then one of the interesting, he put some body armor, but not like a full kit. It was just like the insides of some body armor, like 3A plus body armor on a dummy, and he was shooting it, and the sonic rounds were not going through, but the subsonic rounds were going through the vest.
Is there a reason why?
I think because the bullets themselves were copper.
Oh, they're just solid copper rounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they had like kind of a sharper edge to it, so it wasn't. So you could see the impact of the sonic rounds, and they were just like splat. But like the other ones, like they were still basically intact. It was just the front end was just kind of bent a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But they're still like pretty much fully intact. So that seemed kind of weird. And then there's some what they call it, like non-NFA item. There's like these special. So if you look up this, it's a Mossberg Shockwave.
Okay.
It's basically like a shotgun with like a 13-inch barrel with just like a broom handle on the end of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Seen those.
But they're like, it's classified in some weird way where it's like not actually a shotgun, not a handgun. It's all these things it can and cannot be, and it's determined to be a non-NFA item.
Gray area gun. It's a stagecoach gun.
Yeah, but like it's a weird thing. Like if you put a stock on it, then it would be illegal.
Of course, yeah. These laws we have make a ton of sense. They're all based on something.
So yeah, that's the stuff I remember. So I was looking up other stuff on YouTube. So I was looking into, well, I guess I can talk about the Mutant 2. That one's kind of interesting, which is a AR AK-47 conversion.
Okay.
Sort of. I think the company's called CMMR.
Okay.
I can't remember the model of what it's called. Something like M47 or some shit like that, or MK40s. No, I can't remember. Anyways, the feature of it is like it fires 7.62, but also it'll accept AK-47 magazines.
Okay.
Because there's some other ARs that like they're chambered in 7.62, but they don't.
AR-74.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't take AK mags, so they're like specialized in that way.
A RAC 21 caliber conversion kit.
Um, so yeah, it seemed kind of neat. The bolt is like beefier than the standard AR bolt, so that was kind of interesting. It has a big like mag release on the front of it. Like you can basically just like tap it with your thumb. The odd thing is that it does not. So when you fire the last round, it does not hold the bolt to the rear.
Oh, it doesn't lock back on you.
You can if you get special followers in your magazines.
Oh, okay.
But I guess an AK-47 also doesn't lock to the rear in the last bullet. So that would make sense. So yeah, that gun was it's called the Mutant, and that was the one, like the Demolition Ranch guy had like a small version of it, and so that's where he's like talking about his truck gun. So I was like, I was wondering since I heard of the truck gun, and so the other thing I was looking up is I was looking up that High Point video of his these really cheap handguns.
Oh, the one where he shoots it.
Yeah.
He just still fires, but it failed in the same way it failed when it was brand new. It's like the slide wouldn't unless you struck it a little bit.
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
That no matter what, brand new or shot or thrown into a creek.
I watched a bunch of High Point videos, and like, it's weird how like it'll operate, but when you have to put like a magazine in, it's like the slide doesn't just like it's like the slide release doesn't work. You have to like force it forward yourself or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what they call it. It was like a breach, like a lock breach handgun or something like that. It's where the it's like a PBK. It's the barrel is like attached to the frame.
Okay.
And so like that's. And I guess it's a pretty old design, but also it's cheaper to make a design like that. That's why it's like that. But that design usually fires lower caliber, so like a 380 ACP and a 9mm, so things like that. But yeah, I got to one video where the guy was comparing it, and that's where the guy is like, because I was also referred to as a truck gun at some point by a Demolition Ranch, but this guy was like showing off the stuff, and then he was talking about, it's like, yeah, this is a good carry, and then like it only holds 8 rounds though, but it'll get you to your car, to your primary weapon. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, when you hear that kind of talk, because I just read your text and I said, oh, truck guns. I kind of knew like in a broad sense, like like something maybe a lower cost that you keep in your, especially in a truck where if they have those lockable center consoles, which a lot of them do. But I went down a whole wormhole, like a black hole opened, and it's like I saw everything from truck guns to like Benelli M4s with collapsible stock to Tavors, which is an Israeli assault rifle, like a bullpup gun, so it's really short. And some of them required special licenses to obtain. It's like, where are you driving? Are you going to have to take on a squad of people at some point? I was thinking like a little revolver or something.
Yeah, because it goes far where like people have like, you have your main backup, and then you have your backup, which is like, that's something you have in your ankle holster. And then you have your primary that's in your car, your location you can get to. And then you have like your long rifle, which is at your house. Like this fucking daisy chain of just fucking
strategic escalation.
Yeah.
Of self. Yeah. See, that's when it gets too deep. When people start talking like that, it's like, are you, what's going on? I've never carried more than one. I carry guns sometimes. I've never carried more than one at a time. It's like, well, you got to have a backup. The best reload, or what was it? The best reload is a fresh gun, or somebody told me that.
Yeah.
I've taken a lot of these classes and I've heard some of this talk. It's like, whoa, I'm just mainly like thinking about getting the fuck away from somebody who's acting nuts. And I'm not like engaging, like I'm not, a tactical situation isn't unfolding around me. This time, where the fuck are you hanging out? Or where would the $20 you have in your wallet? Just like, here, fucking take it. We don't have to go into reserved tactical. You know, we're not going to be rolling on the ground. It's firing through your car window or something.
This is my daily carry.
Oh yeah, it's some of that stuff's in mine. I mean, I understand, like, okay, I get what you're talking about, and like it just on its own in its own universe, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. But I'm talking about the real world here in Middle America. Okay, I'm not, you know, maybe perhaps in like the Syrian civil war this might be appropriate, but
What's that? Some of these people that just like have a panic delusion, like they live in Escape from New York, and like, and every situation is escaping back to your homestead. It's like you're about $5,000 into your self-defense force here, and why do you live in this area where you need that?
yeah, I mean, guns are important for self-defense. They're also the last line of self-defense. The first line is getting away, getting in a vehicle that drives faster than any human being or cheetah can run. You know, but if like people are pursuing you, it's like, pursuing me? Well, I'm not robbing a bank. I'm going to get milk. Or it's like, who's pursuing you? Oh, well, yeah, you can get people to pursue you if you're a belligerent asshole riding around with truck nuts and you're looking for a fucking fight and you're cutting people off and flipping people off. It's like, yeah, somebody's going to pursue you. And then maybe that's when all this, like, you deploy weapons like one of the Transformers because you're looking for fucking trouble at that point.
I mean, I know some, like, a lot of these people, you know, they live in rural counties. They're not surrounded by people. They also don't have easily accessible law enforcement. So, of course, you know, you'd have weapons on you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but, you know, they go to the Walmart and they just think like they're entering a war zone.
Yeah, it's not that bad out there. There's no thug life going on in rural Tennessee. You know,
there's some areas where there's like, you know, Alaska where there could be vicious animals. So, like, of course, you have an exotic array of weapons at your disposal. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But like all the scenarios are basically like one white guy surrounded by 5 black guys, and that's what their fantasy is their self-defense fantasy is designed around.
Yeah, and that's what. See, that doesn't help the rest of us who do believe in self-defense, but not like some crazy fucking what's the guy's name? Charles Bronson fantasy world where you're gonna go kill 30 people to avenge something. It's like that. And I used to think that stuff was just a joke. I had not so much anymore because it seems like it just gets nuttier and nuttier every day. And actually, the crime rates in this country are going down.
Yeah,
I mean, now, like, people coming up and saying, "Give me your money, bitch," and stuff. That stuff's kind of starting to creep a little bit. But most people like that.
I mean, that stuff happens in major cities and downtown areas.
Yeah, it's not.
So like another scenario I can see, like there's a lot of guys, you know, a lot of your bros, gun bros, like they work construction, and a lot of construction is in downtown, and like a lot of people steal shit from people's construction trucks and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So there's going to be people, you know, they're prepared to defend themselves in situations where that stuff might occur. So again, that's something I can see the logic in that, but you also fantasize about it in a way that's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're thinking about the most unlikely. Most people are unwilling to confront you directly. They'll steal property from you when you're not there. Sometimes they'll break into your house if they think you're not home. But people just one-on-one in your face. Number one, if you're working construction, chances are you got tools and shit on you. And so if someone comes at you like, "Give me your keys to your truck," you've got a hammer in it. Well, here, just start throwing tools at them. But gun in your face, like point blank robbery. Number one, if you stick a gun in someone, I don't know about everywhere else, but I know in Michigan, if you go around robbing people with guns, you stick a gun in their face and like, "Give me what's in your purse or in your wallet." When they catch you, and they will, that's 20 years in prison. That's armed robbery. that doesn't happen a whole lot. A lot of the shootings here are because somebody made eye contact with me in a rival group and or organization, and I live in a fairly lawless area in some of the major cities around here, and I'm just going to go shoot that guy. It's not, there's no point to it. It's fairly irrational, but it's not even motivated by crime. It's more motivated by boredom and frustration. And I know people here that have been approached at gas stations at night, and the people will just be like, give me the money, bitch. I know one guy pulled out a fucking gun, and the guys that were trying to rob him, they immediately vaporized. As soon as he had it in his hand, they were out of there. There was no backup gun. There was no need to like deploy mortars. They were just gone, which is what most of those people will do. People that are robbing you individually, going around person to person, these aren't hardened mafia hitmen. These are people that are at the edge of anything that makes sense. And if they will steal your car and shit, but it's okay. It's got insurance on it. This is going to suck, but nobody needs to die here. But then the fantasies get cooked up because it's like, well, you just can't throw them your keys because they'll kill you because they don't want witnesses. It's like, wait a minute. They won't do that. They're going to prison the rest of their lives if they do that. They're going to take the fucking car. I'm going to call 911. And nowadays, a satellite is going to send a signal, and the car is going to just stop. So it's like, I don't need no thug life here. I don't need to shoot one. It's, you know.
Like an RPG, let's build out our fantasy tactical list. All right, what's your primary carry?
Oh, if I'm living in the world that they perceive,
yeah.
Flamethrower, a backpack flamethrower with one of those welding goggles, those big welding masks.
Yeah.
No one's gonna fuck with you, except they might try to shoot the tanks off your back, maybe. But no one fucks with a flamethrower.
What's your truck gun? Just a flamethrower again?
No, that's what I walk around with, like getting milk and stuff, so I can like obtain my groceries and fight off the orc hordes that are always present. Now for the truck gun, I'll need like those new AK America, the shotguns, the belt clip fed shotgun.
Oh, the Sega shotguns?
Yeah, the ones that don't work, but you know, let's say it did. Well, they work if you shoot high brass. So if you're gonna go all in, just high brass, fucking double death shotgun shells, you know, bear shot. So it's like 5 9mm shells flying at someone. And then, you know, what can you fire? Because in America, the steering wheels are on the left hand of the car. So most people are right-handed. So when you're in the car, you've got to have a gun that you can fire left-handed and operate the vehicle with your right hand. So what would be the best gun for that? The driving gun.
The driving gun?
Yeah, you gotta have, because you can't be winging shotguns out there unless you're the Terminator, which most of us aren't.
I don't know. I've never handled a MAC-10. I'm kind of thinking of that. That's just a semi-auto 9mm, but you got a big clip on it.
Yeah.
Or you got your Uzi, but Uzi's MAC-10's a bit shorter. But I don't know. But do you need accuracy?
No, you're just spraying bullets as you're driving along.
I've never handled an ump, but those are pretty short, and that's an HK, so you know it's gonna have quality to it.
Yeah, it can't have a lot of kick though, because again, you're shooting left-handed.
Yeah, it's 9mm, so it's not a lot of kick.
Yeah,
but I don't know the weight of it. But I mean, they're meant to be held with two hands, but I believe they can be shot pretty easily with one. But
yeah, again, this isn't really directed fire. You're just kind of spraying.
I think I'd go with the ump, because then it has the broom handle on the front of it, so you can fire with one for just kind of grazing sprays.
Yeah,
just get people off. But if need be, you know, shove your knee in the steering wheel to go straight for a little bit, turn, grab, aim, fire, go back to steering.
Yeah, it's
I think
because when you've got to go pick up that package at the post, you're gonna need like a lot of indirect fire. What do they call it? Like fire for effect. Down.
Yeah.
So you can get in and obtain your Amazon package that was unable to deliver.
But then again, because you're moving, and you got to concentrate on two things. Like accuracy is probably going to be your least important thing. So maybe some sort of short-barreled shotgun.
Yeah. Yeah, you could do that, but again, you're going to be doing two hands. No one's really one hand in a shotgun unless it's like a 20 gauge.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the most effective shotgun shell would not be easy to fire one hand.
Yeah, so that's going to have to work on that concept a little bit. Maybe something, compensated, easy to handle. Well, what does the Secret Service use? Just, well, they usually have multiple people. It's not usually
They
one
usually have Uzis, right? They got Uzis tucked up in there.
small HK.
Well, there's probably got to be something new now, right? Some new thing.
lasers. Who knows?
There's that Spectre 9 thing or some shit like that. It's practically a rifle, but it's like a really solid submachine gun.
Yeah, they probably have stuff like that. Yeah, but flamethrower is a good. Like that's when you have to leave your vehicle, and you're exposed, and you have to, like I said, go get milk or pick up the mail or something. Yeah, the backpack flamethrower. I mean, you're gonna have to be a big guy. You got to be able to take the bulk. But yeah, as soon as you leave the car, just hit the igniter, that little blue flame. They will disperse, especially if you got a welding helmet on, which does restrict your vision. But and you also got to have full.
And then you gotta trick out your welding helmet. You gotta have like video cameras on the side to give you 360 view.
Yeah, well, you could. I don't know if I'd want to go with a lot of electronics, because what if somebody deploys? What if one of these people that might want to steal your wallet like deploys an EMP device, short range one? Like, you really wouldn't want a lot of electronics. Just a good arc of vision, because of course you're going to be wearing like grade 5 body armor, like it's something to stop.
Of course,
for the sniper pickpockets that will shoot you at 1,000 yards, and yeah, you got to be ready for that too.
Now, should we have the wallet on a chain just to entice people?
like a dummy wallet,
yeah,
a rogue wallet that's out there. It's bait, yeah. It's full of plastic explosives, so when you throw it, it arms it, and when somebody moves it, it explodes.
So then, like, the weakest criminal among them would be enticed to go at it. So then you can kill him, and then everybody knows not to mess with you. Then
yeah,
your daily kill.
If the flamethrower and the full suit of essentially 21st century armor wasn't enough of an indication, if somebody was desperate enough for a strike, then yeah, you take the weakest one down first, and the hyenas will feed on him.
Yeah, prison tactics.
Yeah, well, you make your escape. Obtain milk or baby food. What's going on in this demilitarized zone that you call home? Hey, and wild animals are no joke. I mean, like I said, the things back to the real world, like the stuff you said about the people that live in rural areas or don't have fast police response. Like, yeah, if you're just walking in your house, I mean, people do get attacked. It happens about as much as people get hit by lightning, but it can happen. And it's like, because they have the cougars that's becoming more and more common.
Yeah.
It's like mountain lions in the middle of subdivisions. But, of course, those were subdivisions that weren't there 10 years ago. It's like, is the mountain lion in your subdivision, or is your house in the mountain lion's home?
Wasn't that like the thing in California is like you have expansion, but now you have like fires pushing animal life into the cities and stuff like that?
Yes, you got deer all over Los Angeles. I mean, right in the downtown, like just running. They're running from the fires that people are starting for some reason. So yeah, the truck gun thing was definitely a bizarre universe of. Again, it's like, do you live in a Russian prison? Where are you living?
Well, I know it's like stuff that, because the school I went to, there's plenty of farmers, and you'd have like, the gun rack in your truck, but that's for like when you go hunting.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually a good way to carry guns, because that's when trucks just had a cab that you could get 3 people in at most. Like, that makes sense when you're in the fields going deer hunting. It does not make sense to just drive around with weapons on.
Yeah,
us.
a concealed weapon for you to pull out at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
Not one that's just kind of displayed for for ease of use when getting and exiting a vehicle to go hunt animal life.
Yeah. No, that's people. This is a paranoid country sometimes.
So I wonder if that's just the sales pitch, like just to
I
get
think
people to
that's-
buy more.
I think that's part of it. But I also think there's a lot of deeply paranoid people out there. I
Oh
think
yeah,
there's
of course.
people that are having fun, but there are some people that are just like, it's just next level. And I don't understand it. I don't, because again, I support owning guns. I'm all about it, but there's boundaries here. Because one of the biggest things that worries me about guns and self-defense and people just up armoring themselves to these ridiculous levels is those bullets aren't all. If those bullets had if it was something like remember what was that movie, The Fifth Element, where the first bullet would hit the target and then every other bullet fired would immediately vector to that bullet and hit that target. If we had a shit like that, it's like, okay, I feel a little better about this. But the thing is, some of these guys are carrying 30 shots in a handgun of this real high velocity ammunition, and they're scared as hell, obviously paranoid as fuck. And it's like, I don't want to get shot by that as downrange fire. That's what worries me about some of these urban situations where people want to pull out an AR-15. It's like, I stopped the bad guy. It's like, yeah, and the 12 other people you killed. But I think a lot of that's just, like you said, it's probably the sales. It's like, we got to make this seem bad. Like ominous music. The crime rates in America are down 30% since 1990.
Well, see, I think.
Don't.
Well, see, I think that they got to bring that sales pitch back now, because under Obama it was just like, he's going to take them.
Yeah,
He's
get
gonna
out
take
there
'em.
and get them, folks. Coming for them.
Grandfather clause. If you got them before they take them, you have them.
You're in there. You're going to be able to kill everyone else before they get into the fucking hidey hole or whatever the hell you're doing. Yeah, Obama was the gun lobby's best friend. I mean, now that Trump's in office, the NRA says they're going bankrupt. So I don't know what that's all about. I don't know if that's more drama from the NRA or something.
I know a guy. He he worked for firearms manufacturer, and now he works construction. It's like, it's just sales down.
Yeah, no one can afford that shit anymore.
Yeah.
It's fucking expensive as hell.
Yeah, that mutant's like $1,900.
It's I love guns, and
Although that shockwave's like $300. Like, that's pretty attainable.
yeah, that's
But actually, I was looking up, and like, most shotguns are not that expensive unless you're getting a Benelli
no. Yeah.
semi-auto.
Yeah, my Remington pump shotgun here, I think that was $400, like all in. That's what because I have the big mag tube on it and everything. But I kept the wood furniture because on a shotgun I like a full stock.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, it's like, oh, this pistol grip is awesome. It's like, yeah, good luck with that. It's like, what? I said, I don't like that. I got weak wrists or something. I don't like that ferocious fucking recoil for a pistol grip for firing a 12 gauge. I like the full stock. I'm that kind of weenie. I'm sorry. Oh, you should put a pistol grip on that. No, I don't want to break my nose. Will just gun fly up and hit me in the face. But
And the stuff I've been seeing recently, it's kind of, because I know there's a guy who puts up videos of his competition shootings, and he does 3-gun, and his shotgun has an extended tube on it.
yeah,
It always seems backwards, like, oh, he's shooting with the top part, but because he has to, when he reloads, he like flips it, so like just kind of, it has a weird look to it, because like you think the opposite of where the shooting's coming from.
oh, because the tube sticks out further than the barrel. Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just for show. It's a
Yeah, you get extra three rounds in there.
yeah, you don't have to reload it. Because mine uses the flexi tab when you reload it. So every time you load it, it like clunks up, and then you got to press, clunk, and It loads very fast, but they have some of those now where you can just retain that and literally just like push 5 shotgun shells in there. They just fall down into the tube. But again, that's a big tactical latch on the outside. And I mean, if you're competition shooting, great, good on you. You have more money than I do because that's those 3 gun guys. That shit's no joke. Between the time you got to put into practice and everything else, it's like, oh, it's $10,000 a year hobby.
Well, the way he's talking about, there's like, if you kind of just get up there and show up, like there's kind of like events going on, or like people just like let you use their stuff.
Oh, okay.
Because he says like stuff goes down all the time, so people share.
Yeah,
It's like, well, obviously, like you're not attuned to this gun, so you're going to be at a disadvantage. But people will let you compete with their. But yeah, he always says it's weird for him because he's left-handed, so like everything's obviously he can't even like help anybody.
yeah.
Or when he gets help from somebody else, he's like, well, oh fuck, I gotta do this all different.
That was the worst thing I had to do in any defense class I took. Was where they they put a belt around your waist and you had to put your right hand under the belt because you had to assume your right hand was injured.
Yeah.
Shooting and loading offhanded, which because I used a revolver and a pistol and I was fucking horrible. I'd shoot the gun and it'd be like, wow, not left-handed. And so everything, the geometry and everything that I'm used to, I mean, I wasn't crazy with it.
Yeah.
But instead of shooting like a nice tight group, semi-rapid fire and then full rapid fire, it looked like I was firing a shotgun. And then trying to reload the fucker was, you can do it. You can do a speed loader on a revolver.
I always found like with doing things ambidextrously, the key is kind of stance.
Okay.
Because a lot of things you do wrong when you try to do something left-handed, you try to replicate what you do right-handed with your left hand.
Yeah.
Is you keep your right-handed stance.
Yeah.
So like imagine like you're throwing a baseball, like you're doing this whole motion, and then like you go to do it left-handed and you look like a pansy, like you're basically doing this thing because you're keeping your right-handed stance and like you're not throwing your body into it. So
so your body's still facing. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, what got me with left-handed shoot, the revolver wasn't bad, but the automatic was it just because you're used to down and to the left, down and to the left, down and to the left, and then all of a sudden when you're shooting left-handed, it's like way over to the left. It's like because it's all this motion here,
yeah.
and you're one-handed, which is I'm not a good one-handed shot. I always laugh when I see that in movies, like these guys with 2 guns. I mean, ambidextrous people could do that maybe.
Yeah.
But you're probably just going to shoot your fingers.
Well, yeah, because he also military, so he does M16 a lot and left-handed. And the always the bad thing about that is like you got a lot of brass burns on your collar because like you're just ejecting it right into your face and shit. Yep.
Yeah, left-handed's not a lot of options in gun world for that, where you're gonna go deaf.
Well, if it ejects from the top, then you're like okay. Or there's some bottom ones eject from the bottom, and that stuff you're like okay. But
yeah, that was one of the truck guns that was recommended. Speaking of things ejecting from the bottom, was that Fabrique Nationale one that looks like a space gun.
Yeah, yeah.
The clip goes on top, and they said the nice thing about this is the brass all comes out the bottom. So when you're, if you're in a tactical truck situation, which you often are, you don't have to worry about spraying brass all around like the inside of your truck, or it was something. It's like, oh, that's a good pointer.
Oh, there's what he was telling me. I have one. I can't. Maybe this is the same one. Well, no, that one it ejects out the front. So there's basically like a well for the ejected brass.
Okay.
So and it's almost like another magazine, and then it's also a great way to commit a crime because like the first couple of bullets don't eject from the gun.
Oh, they just hang out in the well.
Yeah.
You don't have to hold a baggie up next to it. That's nice. Use a revolver. Fuck. But yeah, that's I love that stuff.
Guns.
And then like the other guy I watch a lot was the guy you mentioned, Hickok 45. He's just fun, you know.
Yeah.
It's shooting guns with Grandpa, but he gets some wild ass shit. It's like, look what they sent us today, and it was like 245s mated together.
Yeah, yeah.
The double 45. Who even makes that, and how does it work? And it worked pretty good. That guy's a fucking crack shot, though.
Yeah.
That old guy, he can really. What the hell was that? Yeah, he can really shoot some shit, and he's got those loud report metal targets.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we got him! Ding!
I'll just aim for the gong on this one, and boom! Ah, we got her.
And then, but yeah, he gets some crazy. I like the suppressed AR-15, the fully automatic one, because, like, I guess I don't know. He knows people that give him that stuff. And
Was it Bob's Guns or something? Like,
yeah,
because he probably sells merch, but his thing is he's sponsored by a gun shop, so that's how he gets money, because his is defunded as well.
of course it is.
But he gets all his ammo from Federal Ammo, because he always makes sure to point that out.
Yeah, he's got a, but he was shooting pumpkins or something with a fully automatic AR-15 with a huge suppressor. He's like, oh, that's fun. You know, they're just being disintegrated. And yeah, he seems like a fun guy. Again, another one of those gun shows where I don't like the gun shows where I get the weird vibe. I don't get weird vibes from Hickok 45. I'm pretty sure we voted for, but I'm not gonna.
Well, there's occasional was like, remember to join your local NRA chapter and stuff like that. But it's like, it's whatever.
Hey, that's not crazy. I've been a member of the NRA before they went fucking insane.
Yeah, it depends. Just like, they're all over the place. So there's some good ones.
Yeah, I support it. Like I said, I'm not against it, but I am against some of the absolute madness of, and I'm not that paranoid and fearful of everything and everyone. I mean, if people want to do me harm, I guess that's what they're gonna do. I'll do everything to avoid it, but I'm not gonna just like talk to everyone. Just look at them like, I'm not looking over when I'm talking to people. I'm not looking around the room like, what are 3 things I could use right now to kill that person? What's my best escape? When I go to be seated in the restaurant, it's like I want to be seated near the kitchen where I can get out the back if the shooting starts. There's some people that talk like that. Like it's your responsibility. You've got to be rational about this. It's like, no, you're far from rational.
Well, I mean, because I write movies and stuff like that, I always have the occasional, if I've been in a place long enough, it's like, how would I die hard my way out of this one? Like, what if terrorists suddenly took over this place and I had to save everyone? Like, there's those fantasies, but I recognize them as fantasy. It's not as a something that's actually going to happen.
Strategy. Yeah, I don't get it.
And there's also people like build out the zombie fantasy, and they kind of like they like that one's kind of fun, but they just kind of latch them together. It's like, well, it's okay that I'm crazy because I'm preparing for a fantasy that's not going to exist. Like, yeah, but you went ahead and spent the $5,000 to prepare for the fantasy. Obviously, that's just a cover.
Well, and there's a lot of things. It's just like the one of the Anthony Bourdain shows he did. One of the last ones he did was they were down somewhere in West Virginia, and there was this company that made fully automatic AK-47s, and he pointed out right away on the show. He's like, I know guns are controversial. You can't fucking own these. You just can't go buy these in a gun store. It requires a lot of paperwork. There's very few of these in private hands. These are more demo guns to get people interested in their other product. And that was honest that he did that. And these had 60-round magazines on them. And they went out and fired them. And he was like, this is fun as fuck. I'm not going to lie to you. Because it was like, brrr, and they just kept going and going and going. And but he did point out on the show, Anthony Bourdain did, is like, you can't go buy these things. So everyone don't freak out. This isn't available for sale to the public. Some people might not be happy about that, but they're not generally available in this format. So that's another part of it too, is it's just a fun factor.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah.
This isn't about school shootings and overthrowing the government. This is just about having fun.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I always enjoy the sort of the history and the engineering behind all that stuff. That's super fascinating.
Yeah. Well, gunpowder firearms are one of those things like I sometimes I read books about like engineering and like human evolution of technology, but that basic principle, that's at its apex. It will the next step beyond what we're doing right now is energy weapons. I mean, and those aren't going to be around for a long time. So, you know, the 9mm, the 45, you can change metallurgies, you can change calibers, you can come up with different ballistic things, you can come up with things to help them be more accurate. But essentially, the nucleus of what a gun is has stood the test for over 100 years, and it'll be here probably for hundreds of more years. In that, you know, it might not, they might go to caseless ammunition or something, but basically we're going to explode chemicals and throw projectiles down a rifled barrel. That's going to be around a long time. That's what they call apex technology. It's one of the few things we have other than like the wheel and the shovel where it's like, this isn't going to get any better. I mean, we can put some gizmos on it, but essentially how it works is how it's worked for a long time.
Yeah, we can Swiss Army this shit.
Yeah, I mean, you can go...
It's a gun and a can opener.
Well, I know with like my AR, like you can literally make those weigh 10 pounds. You can put all kinds of crazy lights and sirens and...
Oh, and skeletonize them?
Skeletonize them, bayonet them. I always wanted a gun with a giant bayonet on it, but like a cartoonishly giant one, so everyone knows it's kind of a joke. Not like I really want to ram steel through people's guts.
Well, I just like the SKS because it has that flip-up bayonet on it.
Foldable one.
Yeah.
The big wedge. All this is designed to do is make big wounds. Yeah, I think that's cool to combine the sword with the gun. And like Gears of War has that's the ultimate accessory. Chainsaw on the end of it. You know, yeah. I mean, we can probably do stuff like that, but essentially, until we graduate to like Star Trek phasers, that's going to be the technology that will carry the day. So it's kind of cool. It's interesting to study, and it's just like the whole history of the carbine rifle before World War II and all that. Like, the kind of genius it took for, and some of the people that invented this stuff weren't necessarily geniuses by anyone's measure or even engineers. They're just people that sat down. It's like, okay, we're going to do this with a gun and we're going to figure this out. And because they're very much a product of the Industrial Revolution. I mean, that whole, like the 1911, which I really like that. The reason it's called the 1911 is that's the year it was patented. Now there's no automobile or any other household device that was based on something invented in 1911 that we use now. Nothing. There's nothing you would want from that era except for nostalgia. But however, the 1911 handgun competes with all the best guns made today, all the plastic stuff and all the other stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of argument there because there's a lot of argument about anything where more than two people are involved or more than one person is involved. But yeah, there's no technology like that. That's like, oh, you can use you can drive a car from 100 years ago, or you can drive a car from today. Like, no one would be rah about that.
Yeah, because nowadays it's all about adding attachments and lasers and scopes, optics.
Yeah, there's no new calibers. It's like, oh, have you heard about the new 5mm? There's nobody. Well, I mean. Now has that weird one.
I mean, there's all sorts of weird ones. Yeah, I'm not sure about new weird ones, but I always find it fascinating about ammunition and just like how things wildly change with very little. Like, oh, we made this bullet slightly bigger, and then like the grain behind it is like only this difference, but then like it's just wildly different performance based on very minute changes.
Oh yeah, like the well, the 40 caliber was a result of engineering like that. The 45 GAP and then the 357 SIG were also based on changes, necking bullets, metallurgical changes in the composition of the bullet, and you know, the powder. You know, when you go from black powder to smokeless powder, it's like a whole universe of difference. So there's incremental. Like, we might eventually go away from using gunpowder. We use some other kind of chemical. But right now, gunpowder is fairly shelf stable and predictable, and primers usually work, and so we keep it simple. But it's yeah, they're fascinating products of the Industrial Revolution that still are with us today, for good or ill. They're still around. Because it was funny, like initially, when then develop, you can see the development, the arc. It's like after World War I, it's like, well, we need an automatic rifle that a soldier can carry that's not like crew serve. It needs to lay down firepower. So they came up with the BAR, which is essentially a 30-06 that is fully automatic. Way too big, way too powerful, requires a big guy to operate it, absolutely beats the shit out. It's like running a jackhammer against your shoulder all day. But that was like, well, this is the evolution. We're just going to take bolt-action rifle rounds and set up a feed system and have it be fully automatic. It was really, it would get people's heads down, and they used them into World War II, but it was really impractical for people to operate. That's when the Germans came up with the smaller shells, and then we did, and everyone else did. So that stuff's moved along, but you notice the needle's not moving anymore. But there hasn't been a global war that would cause us to innovate yet.
Yeah.
Who knows what the Chinese will come up with, or
well, yeah, it's pretty much just down to like AK and AR stuff for various reasons.
Yeah, it's ease of understanding, and but yeah, it's fascinating for more than just the obsession with violence and weirdness and being on guard against liberty, or for liberty against the tyranny of whatever. That's when you start losing me. It's unnecessary. Again, there's lots of things to really be afraid of. Cancer, flooding, all of car wrecks. There's shit that can really kill you. Going down
I have the same probably the same level of distrust in humanity that they do, but I'm more about like, people suck at driving.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about that.
Yeah, I've never been in a situation with a gun where I'm like, oh, my heart really got racing, and I was like really freaked out for a second there. Thought I was going to have to shoot 20 assailants. But yeah, going to work, usually about once a month, I'm like, oh, fuck. Yeah, I'm more threatened by other things. But I think some people want to incorporate these almost casual or mundane fears. And it's not mundane if you hit a wall at 70 miles an hour. But yeah, these brush encounters on the freeway that can get scary. Some people want to incorporate firearms into that too. And it's like, no.
Mostly in LA.
Yeah. This shootout. Oh, there was a lady here that shot at a guy because he cut her off. He just he cut her off, and she kind of pulled up behind him, cocked the car over a little bit, so she just took aim and fired, and he was like, what the fuck? And he called the police because she just shot into his back window because he had like an SUV thing. Didn't hit him, but it shot into his back window and went out through the roof, and she just kept driving behind him, and he was like calling 911 like, this bitch just shot at me. And so the cops, of course, immediately show up, pull him over, and like, what's going on? And she basically said, oh, he cut me off. It's like, so he got into his car and then made no attempt to exit the freeway or anything. That'll show you. Don't cut me off again. It's like, yeah, I'm glad this person had a firearm. Legally owned, by the way, not, some crazy person. I mean, definitely a crazy person, but not like your typical, ravening marauders that seem to control most of our major cities, according to some people. Yeah, that's but yeah, I'm more worried about that than what kind of multiple gun solution I need to have. And leaving guns in a car is never a good idea. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but yeah, that gun's just a rock toss away from winding up in somebody's hands that you don't want it to. So never been a fan of that. Not saying it doesn't happen, but try to avoid it. If I'm going in to see a baby christening and I don't have to have my 3-gun option with me, but I can't bring it into a church because churches are communist after all. And I have to leave that in a car. I know somebody that asked permission to bring their gun to a wedding. Because in Michigan, it's illegal to have a gun in a church unless the pastor says it's okay. Yeah, bring your gun, whatever. I don't give a fuck. And I know somebody that asked, and he was told he could. And I was like, why did you even fucking ask? It wasn't even his wedding. He was just a guest. Like, well, you never know. It's like, you're right. You never know, but you can be pretty sure. I mean, is this like a controversial wedding? You know, like our lands and titles going to be exchanged? Where is it going to be like the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones? Are there going to be snipers in the balcony? Why are you bringing a fucking gun to a wedding?
I remember some story about a guy who was like the cameraman for a wedding, and he was like armed for some reason, but like the reason was somewhat justified or whatever, or he was like in a line of work that was.
Oh yeah, I think I do remember that. Wasn't he a private detective or something?
Maybe.
But photography was just because he was great at taking pictures of people during a wedding, and then taking pictures of those same people a few years later going into a hotel with some other one. I think it was something like that. He completes this loop. What God has brought asunder together, let no man tear asunder. Steps on the titty bar. But yeah. So gun shows on YouTube. Watch them.
Yeah, they're fun.
Before we
YouTube takes them over and
just
gets rid of them. What's a gun?
we just say everything backwards. The Nug Show. YouTube's algorithm will never figure it out.
But I did go see Mission Impossible Fallout.
Okay, what'd you think of that?
It was a good action movie. I'm not sure if it's as good as everyone's touting it to be.
Yeah, I was sort of wondering about. I mean,
And for a practical effects action movie, it is top fucking notch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But like, I didn't necessarily like care about all the character development. It's like, it's fun to see a movie with these people. I thought Henry Cavill's character kind of just fell apart at the end. Like, he was kind of interesting at first, and then like not at the end.
Yeah, he seemed to be disposed of without. It's like, what's this guy's hook? What's his special angle? Gonna take off flying? I feel like when he was just shooting the giant gun out of the helicopter at the other helicopter.
Yeah.
Having problems aiming because the helicopter was jerking all around. I was like, yeah, that probably would.
And I got a more appreciation for some of the stunts because I saw a bunch of featurettes and, showing like how Tom Cruise in a short amount of time, like, put in 5,000 hours of helicopter time so he could fly the helicopter himself. And there's nobody in there with him. They just strap cameras to the helicopter and he's flying it the fuck around.
Yeah, that Tom Cruise is a amazing dude in some ways.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, he's like, how old is he now?
54?
57.
Oh, okay. Even more. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he looks like he's like in his 30s or 40s.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, this was a good of the Mission Impossible movies. This was one of the good ones.
Well, the last three have been pretty. Well, I don't know. I don't remember Rogue Nation, but I think that was the first one that Christopher McQuarrie directed, and I like his stuff, so I think it's more.
It was good.
Yeah, I mean, it was good, but I really liked Ghost Protocol probably the most.
Yeah.
That one was also like a lot of fun because Brad Bird directed that, and it was an animator directed a Mission Impossible movie. I really like 3. 3 is really good too, but I think people don't really like 3. But I think that was back when J.J. Abrams was kind of a curiosity. He's like, can he make a movie? Like, who knows?
Yeah, well, 3 had the best bad guy. So
yeah.
I think we played drops from that on the show.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean, I think this was sometimes I wonder, like in Mission Impossible canon, this was definitely one of the good ones. But in terms of 2018 summer movie canon, I think I don't know if it's like the greatest action movie ever made. But I think it's like, oh, this is the fucking movie we've been waiting for, is something entertaining that's going to amuse us for 2 hours. Again, it's not going to change, the fate of nations. I did have a good comedy moment in this movie because I made Grayson and all the other people around him laugh. Because when they were talking about where this nuclear bomb was going to go off, they're like, it's going to poison all the water for Pakistan, India, and China, and it'll cause starvation. And I looked over at Grayson and I said, I'm with the bad guys. And Grayson was laughing so fucking hard. And I didn't understand why, because all the people around him heard that and they were all laughing. Grayson's like, you didn't hear all those people laugh? And I said, no, I just thought I said it to you. It's like everyone on that side of the theater is just like distracting laughing. I'm with the bad guys. Because I'm sure everyone was thinking the same thing. Or they weren't, I don't know.
But yeah, it's a impressive action movie, but I don't think I was falling asleep during some of it, so I wouldn't say it's necessary. That was in the morning. I saw it at noon.
Oh, okay.
And I still fell asleep.
Yeah,
but then they got in the helicopter. I was back in.
I just think this movie is one of those ones that it's like, yeah, this is exactly what it's advertised to be, and it's
no, it's a really good action movie. I like it.
Yeah. And it wasn't Annihilation.
Well, we're getting into August now. We're probably gonna get into weird movies. The movies that well, we spent $200 million on this. Might as well try to get our money back.
Let's try to generate some DVD sales.
The good old Elysium spot. Maybe this will work.
Let's find out.
Should we put it in July? Oh no, we'll lose our asses in July. August, that's where it belongs.
Yeah, what's coming out soon? What's coming out next? When's Venom coming out?
I think that's later this year.
Okay. That actually looks like it might be good.
I'm interested. I don't know. Things about the trailers don't necessarily
The Meg's coming out.
Yep.
That's about the giant shark.
Yep. The Megalodon, that's probably terrible.
Yep. Slender Man.
I mean, that's a horror movie, so it probably has some people watch it.
What, Slender Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like internet thing.
Oh, you got your Peterberg action movie with Mile 22, which that's probably not going to compare to Mission Impossible at all. But it's R-rated, so.
Yeah. And then the movie Alpha about the cave boy and the dog, or the wolf, and how dogs and people became friends. The live-action Little Mermaid.
Is that?
It's not the Disney one.
I was like, that probably would get more publicity if it was that. Got Happy Time Murders, which that could probably go either way. We'll see. Have you seen the trailer for that? Oh, it's like a R-rated comedy, but with puppets.
Oh, okay.
So it's like there's a murder spree going. It has Melissa McCarthy in it, and she's a detective, and it's like sort of Who Framed Roger Rabbit-ish, where there's like some people are humans and some people are puppets.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at pictures of this. This looks really weird. Let's see. Axel, the robot dog movie. That's rated just straight up PG. Papillon comes out the end of August. I don't know how that's the one with Remy Malek and Charlie Hunman.
Yeah.
Replicas. I don't even know what that is.
I guess, I don't really see anything here that I would say is the Elysium of August, but...
Oh, yeah.
Well, Mile 22, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Ken. That's that one they shot in Detroit about the science fiction. The guy who finds the super gun.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see what comes out. What are we not going to watch in September? The Predator? That's September 14th.
Yeah, that's... like the people, like that's Shane Black, so I kind of expect it to be good, but the trailers have not seemed that great for that movie.
Olivia Munn's in that? That's weird.
Okay.
Another Robin Hood movie? They're
Oh, of
revisiting-
course, yeah. Why not? I mean, nobody owns the rights to that shit, so
Oh, okay.
it's like
I
why?
mean-
It's like at the same. There's like 4 Sherlock things going on at the same time.
Oh, okay.
There was the movies with shit. What's his name? Iron Man. Can't remember his name.
Oh,
Robert Downey Jr.
Downey Jr., yeah.
And then you had Sherlock, the show with Benedict Cumberbatch. And then you had Elementary, the show with Lee Miller. I think he has another name in there, something Lee Miller. Is it John Lee Miller? I can't remember. The dude from Hackers.
Yeah.
And then you also had that movie with the guy Magneto, that dude.
Oh, yeah, the old guy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like an old timey one. But yeah, this one is the dude
Oh,
from
yeah, that's the one where Sherlock Holmes, like, it's after the bombing of Hiroshima.
yeah.
Like 90 years old, and he needs the kid to help him because he's losing his memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched that. That was actually sad.
But yeah, this new Robin Hood one, it's has the kid from all the Kingsman movies.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I've seen this. It looks like Robin Hood / Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Assassin's Hood, yeah. What's coming out in October? Venom. Oh, that First Man, the Neil Armstrong biopic with Ryan Gosling.
Huh.
Overlord will be out right before Halloween. That's the next installment in the Cloverfield universe
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
or whatever.
I think if they really wanted to harp on that, they would have probably called it Cloverfield something. So I think maybe they're distancing themselves from the Cloverfield universe.
Yeah,
Although something popped up on the internet recently about 10 Cloverfield Lane.
what's that?
I'm not sure. I didn't go watch it, but there's something out there about a continuation with the characters from 10 Cloverfield Lane.
See, in December, November, Mortal Engines. That was the weird, where the cities are just giant things that feed off other cities and
Yeah.
drive. Bumblebee, and then that Alita Battle Angel, which looks strange.
Yeah, it's based on anime, and they try to make a live action anime.
Oh yeah, didn't
So they
learn-
give the character giant eyes.
big eyes, and didn't they learn their lesson with what was the one? Final Fantasy.
I mean that was fully digital. This is only somewhat.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's interesting that they gave. It's probably like Robert Rodriguez's most expensive movie he's ever made.
Oh, okay.
So I find that interesting. So like, what happens when you give him like $100 million to make a movie, or even probably more, I guess.
It might be interesting.
And I know James Cameron has been like trying to make that movie for years, but so it's weird. Like I've seen the anime; it's not really that good. It's like just, I mean, it's all right. It's just pretty fucking brutal, and the characters aren't that interesting. But there's a giant city in the sky where all the rich people live, and they literally dump all their trash on all the poor people, and the people basically have to live their lives off the rich people's trash.
Oh, okay.
So you got that sort of social dynamic going on there, which is maybe the most interesting. And then just lots of brutal murder by machines.
Yeah, gotta have that. What was the trailer I saw? Oh, yeah, there's a new submarine movie coming out.
Oh, there is? Modern or old?
Modern.
Huh.
It's got from the producers of Olympus Has Fallen.
Oh, okay.
Got the guy in it. This is Sparta.
Oh, Gerard Butler.
Yeah, but it's called Hunter Killer, and it's based on a book I read probably a year and a half ago called Firing Point, it's a submarine movie, and it was almost like it kind of had that Hunt for Red October vibe as it got really technical and there was a lot of crazy shit going on, but then it just got ridiculous. It's like we have to save some Russian general, and he's got to confess to the UN about the Russians are doing because they're trying to start World War III because plot and
Reasons.
yeah, because reasons. That's always a winning solution. And but it was kind of a cool book. It wasn't as good as The Hunt for Red October, but not for lack of writing skill. It was more lack of like plotting, and it's like we've got to make this bigger and more ridiculous at every step.
Does this incorporate logic? Do you want it bigger or not?
But I remember reading the book because I always, whenever science fiction frustrates me and I feel like, well, there's nothing out I'm interested in, my go-to is like submarine books because I always, have a fascination with that kind of stuff. And this was sort of not quite as crazy as the Joe Buff books, but pretty nuts. And,
Yeah.
But the story gets so absurd. It's like, well, and I enjoyed the book, but it's like, yeah, that was kind of. Now, The Hunt for Red October, like, was kind of crazy too, but it seemed like something that, like, man, maybe that could happen.
Yeah.
This one got crazy.
Well, I mean, Hunt for October ultimately doesn't involve a world war breaking out, although that tension's there.
Yeah, it's possible, but yeah. It's more a story about people and great technological achievement.
Yeah. It's a story about a technical document and some characters in between.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Tom Clancy in his prime was an excellent writer, though. He could carry you away.
Yeah, well, yeah, because especially at that time where you didn't necessarily have access to like that kind of information, or you would have to like go out of your way, or it'd be boring.
Yeah,
he made that kind of technical information interesting.
Yeah, because it applied to something that the characters were doing.
Yeah, but it was also there is a 10-page diatribe on like how the technical function of some part of a submarine works or whatever.
Yeah,
but then but also that'd be because stuff about like what are those alpha submarines where like those Russian submarines are really fast, but like they're like what cobalt or graphite moderated.
No, they're yeah, the alphas were they were faster than an American torpedo, but they used molten lead as a heat moderator instead of water or something else. And they could never be shut off for that reason, because if you shut them off, the lead just freezes solid. And they were also loud as hell. They were really loud. But yeah, you wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know what the Alpha submarine was, or appreciate the monumental brilliance it took for the Soviets to design that, and the monumental idiots they had building it. People who would like misweld stuff and but when you make a solid titanium hulled ship, like that's just a double hulled at that. Well, you're not going to sink it. You're going to hear it coming 20 miles away, but you're not going to sink it.
But I was always kind of like, well, before the internet, like stuff with Tom Clancy, and same thing. I'd say with like the Metal Gear Solid series, and it's like that can't be true, and you like look it up, it's like, oh shit, this is based on something true. I mean, with Metal Gear, it's more crazy. You'd be like, that's not true. This is just made up, and you look it up, it's like, oh shit, this is based on something. With Clancy, it's like, is that true? And then you just look it up. It's like, huh?
Maybe not. It's possible. Maybe not being implemented right
yeah.
now.
Well, I was like, that's like everything in Metal Gear Solid is like, it's possible, but impractically implemented, so it'll never be used. But hey, we did the research. Now make an entire character about it.
Yeah, but I thought that was interesting. It's like, oh, they optioned that for a movie that's going to be terrible, but it's going to have submarines in it. I might have to watch it. I don't know. Probably not.
I had an idea for an action movie, but I tried to keep it as low cost as possible. Like I was trying to get around that.
Like a shootout in a warehouse.
I mean, yeah, there's stuff like that, but I mean, mostly it's a bunch of bank robberies. So it's like nobody's actually getting shot. It's just basically how do you hold up people and how do you like all the details of holding up. So like one of them, it was completely silent one of the bank robberies, and so like nobody ever talks to anybody. It's just like signs and sign language.
Oh,
So that'd be an
that
interesting
would
way
freak everyone out.
to.
We're all deaf.
But like, so but like, you know, how do you end it? And I had like a car chase. It's like, well, I can't afford this. Then I had the idea of like, oh, it's a car chase at night, and trying to evade bad guys / police. The car does not have lights on it, and it's driving through a forest at night. So like, how do you do that? It's like, well, on the inside, it's basically built like a submarine.
Oh,
So the car is basically driving through the woods at night like a submarine with no lights on the outside at all. So that was the idea. Is like, well, I could film that because you just film the guy inside the submarine and have lights, and then maybe when you go to do like compute CGI of the car, it's at night, so you can get away with bad CGI because it's at night and you can't see that much detail anyways.
they just need a shape moving through trees.
Yeah.
Like it looked like it's going really fast.
It's like I thought that would be an interesting idea, because like, okay, yeah, just do submarine with a car.
That's essentially what a submarine is. It's like an airplane with no windows and a stopwatch. And and they're really, really, really expensive. Really, really, really expensive.
Should we go in the movie?
Yes, we watched a movie this week. This was I did some research on this. The first I watched it, and then I did some research. It's Killing of a Chinese Bookie. It's a John Cassavetes joint.
Which I thought I knew him, but then I realized I didn't know him. Like, he was mainly an actor, and then he did a bunch of directed some movies that have some note to them, I guess.
Well, the weird thing about his movies, they were all self-funded indie films.
Oh, really? Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's why he could do the things he does. Some of the weirder but almost endearing aspects of this movie. Because I'll tell you what, he's not afraid to let a scene just draw out. Just go with it.
Yeah.
Because the main actor in this is Ben Gazzara, who was like a staple in a lot of World War II movies. I recognized him from that. I didn't really look up his IMDb. It's like that guy was in a bunch of World War II movies.
Yeah.
And kind of
every time I looked at him, it was like, that's like old Bradley Cooper.
yeah. Kind of an old, short Bradley Cooper. He played Cosmo Vitale, an L.A.
Are they in LA or is it Las Vegas? Because they keep calling the Strip, but I guess any place could have a strip.
Yeah, well, it's in California.
Okay.
But it seems like New York's standing in for California a lot because all the guys have New York accents, but it's supposed to be in California.
Okay.
I don't know, actually how. Well, because John Cassavetes, one of the trademarks of a film of his is that they're very dark and stuff's kind of blurry.
Yeah.
Maybe because they shot it on really cheap film stock just to cut money.
Or they're just filming a scene and letting the actors go. It's like, well, this is the best scene.
Yeah, well, because a lot of the dialogue in this movie is improvised.
Yeah.
They give framework of kind of like, okay, this is what we want. Go. And you could tell because there's a lot of long scenes of exposition in this movie of people talking. Weirdly involving, though, because the main actor in this is kind of a compelling guy. He reminded me a lot of like the James Caan thief guy.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to be legitimate, but I'm running this weird strip club that's more like an art club type.
Yeah, it's like, almost, it's like cabaret.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know, like, if it was intended to be that way or if there's some like weird rules where it's like you can't just have ladies go up and show their tits. Like, it has to be in the context of some sort of show or something.
I don't know. This is in the 70s. I think they had full on strip clubs by then.
Yeah, or if he's like just trying to be different or something.
He always wants to be classy.
Yeah.
He's driving around in a limousine. He's giving all his girls orchids, and they're gonna go gamble and lose all kinds of money.
Well, that's like, I don't know if it's a weird thing, but like everything with the strip club is so sad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can smell the estrogen and fear in that strip club.
Well, the one hot take, because I would say like I really didn't like this movie, but I appreciated it.
Oh, okay. I actually liked it for some weird reason. It drew me in.
um, well, like, yeah, just because like, well, I guess you read the description, it's like, oh, it's a crime movie. It's like, oh, this will be fun. And it's like, oh, this is a character piece. This is not a crime movie at all.
Yeah. It's a movie with crime in it about a complicated man.
But like somebody explained it because I guess Ben Garazza, he didn't get the character. And he's like, I don't understand it. Like, what's up with this? And like John Cassavetes was explaining it to him. He was basically crying while he was explaining the character to him. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, I get it. He's you.
Uh-huh.
And like the hot take that really made me kind of like appreciate the film more is that it's almost like some weird esoteric autobiography where this movie is not about like a guy getting caught up, gambling debts force him to commit crimes. This is a guy who like wants to make art and nobody understands him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, that's okay. Then that all makes sense. Like this is all like a character piece about an artist who doesn't really make good art, doesn't always enjoy making it, but for some reason is compelled to do so.
Right. Yeah, and see, this movie came right after his most famous movie, which was A Woman Under the Influence, which like won. It was not won Oscar now, or it didn't win. It was nominated for Oscars and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was about psychiatric care, and I didn't watch that movie, but I know that's his biggest movie as a director. And this was sort of his weird, because this movie remind me a lot in some ways of like The Place Beyond the Pines or
Yeah.
Drive, where we just had kind of cool scenes, but there didn't seem to be anyone at the wheel. It's like, this looks great, and I like these guys talking. I don't know what the fucking point is.
Some cool
But-
music that doesn't always seem to belong, but it's like cool.
Yeah, weird music. And a real that gritty 70s. You know,
Yeah.
this-
Oh yeah, this is a movie that has like patience. Like
Oh,
movies
yeah.
don't do this. Movies don't spend 10 minutes on a character study on an improvised scene unless it's like those one brothers that make movies.
Coen Brothers.
No, they'd be like Cyrus. I can't remember their name, but yeah, they
Oh,
make. And Jeff Who Lives at Home. Those movies, where it's like they're mostly just improvised, but they're like also barely movies.
yeah.
Uh,
And I even like the gangsters in this movie. They just seem like real kind of weird people from that time.
Oh, yeah, one of my favorites is that one weird gangster guy. When basically that one guy says like, "Oh, you have to go kill him now," and like they go in the garage. He's like, it's a weird scene where he's doing a lot of weird facial tics and smiling at him. He's like, "You're my friend," and then he just leaves without
Yeah.
killing him. I was like, what the fuck was that about?
Well, that's because he told him. Because I guess the backstory with Cosmo was he was like a Korean War veteran.
Yeah,
So he knew about like violence and stuff. Like he wasn't afraid of it necessarily, but it's like he told him, he goes, "You guys are all amateurs. This is amateur hour. You're just gonna get killed." And it was kind of like, yeah, he pulled the car out and it's like, "Take care of my friend." Because I remember they had that weird conversation. It's like, "Did you cry when your dad died?" You know, all that kind of shit.
yeah.
It's like, oh, I could see a guy.
My dad was a good listener. Did you cry when your dad died?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
all
that's not what this is about.
yeah, but all that dialogue, really caught me. It's like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I could see like a guy who really wasn't comfortable with having to kill this guy, and if I can talk him out of it, I'm gonna do it, because otherwise I'm just gonna have to shoot him.
Also, like earlier in the movie, he had no problem just beating the shit out of Cosmo.
yeah, and then saying afterwards, "Now we got a bond. Now you're with us," because I beat the shit out of you. And but kind of a weird stilted delivery on that. It's like, what just happened? It's like, keep filming, guys, walk this way. It's okay. And the black lady in this, his girlfriend, or the girl he really liked in the movie. Now she was like the Playboy centerfold of the year or something.
Okay.
That's who she was.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. It's like questionable. It's like, is this an actor? Or is this just somebody they just pulled off the street?
Yeah, well, the guy who paid off in the beginning of the movie when he told him, "Yeah, you got no class. I don't ever want to see you again." That was the producer of the movie.
Yeah.
So he stood in for that.
I guess maybe we should explain the plot. Basically, it's about an
Yeah.
hour. About an hour goes by, and this guy owns a club. And then a guy goes to his club who has another club. Then he goes to that club, and that club's just gambling. And so he gets drunk and gambles away like $23,000.
Yeah.
And then they decide that he needs to pay up or kill this Chinese bookie.
How much would that be in today's dollars?
I think they said $97,000. I saw on some in an IMDb thing or something.
Okay, so yeah, so I knew it would be a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
Be a lot of money now.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so the plot was, it's like, well, we can call in this Mark. Didn't they threaten to take over his club?
I'm not sure. They're like standing at the club, and you're like, "What's going on?" And it's like, "Oh, this is a nice club here." It's like, "Oh, they're gonna take over the club, and like, is this gonna be how they're gonna hold this over on him or something like that?"
But so anyway, he has to go kill this Chinese bookie,
Who turns out to not be a Chinese bookie,
Yeah. And
but some king gangster.
triad kingpin.
Yeah, yeah.
Like way bigger than a bookie. But I like it when he's going to do the crime, because they tell him about the car. It's like, yeah, don't stall it. It's all started by wires. It won't run. If you stall it out, you can't restart it. And then the tire blows on the freeway. That's like a weird scene of him running back to get the gun across the freeway.
Yeah.
And then going to get the hamburgers to silence the attack dogs, and arguing with the lady. Like, don't you want them wrapped? I don't want them wrapped. That whole, and that's another one of those scenes where it just like goes on, and the bartender's like, she's been through some stuff, it's like this with her. I'll talk to her, and he's like, don't worry about it. No. And then so it's like, yeah, there's a lot of scenes like that in this movie of just this extended weird dialogue, which I learned later because I just watched the movie and then did research on. It's like, oh, this is how he shoots movies. This is kind of general framework. It's like, go.
Yeah, he's focused on the performance, so he's not really worried about doing cinematography or anything like that. Not that there's no cinematography, but yeah, it's all focused on character.
And the Chinese gangster's house, or bookie's house, is weird. So there's like two houses. There's a house where the bodyguard stays, and then there's a house where this Chinese man bathes with young women and has splash fights with them, but really has no dialogue. Just the guy just walks walks from one bathtub to another, and then gets shot. I mean, he says stuff in Chinese, but
yeah.
And then he has a shootout with the world's worst bodyguards, who just just run into a room and get shot. And then he gets shot, but not fatally. But the wound is with him for like pretty much the rest of the movie.
Yeah, because he's bleeding at the end. Like his coat, he like turns to the light, and his coat's just covered in blood.
Yeah.
But he's walking around fine, drinking alcohol, so he seems to be fine. But
yeah, he's just walking off.
Well, that's where he goes to his girlfriend's house, and like her mom fixes him up.
Mm-hmm.
But then she it's like, you can't come here anymore. It's like, I don't know what you're in, but you're in some trouble.
Yeah, if you come to my house with gunshot wounds, I will treat them, but you're not welcome here anymore. So, yeah, that was a cool movie. I actually like that more than I thought I would, and I don't know why.
Well, I was just surprised by it, like I said, reading the description of the movie. Like, I feel like I did not get that movie, or at least you didn't get that movie till about halfway through it. It's like, oh, here's where the whole thing starts. There's like how much you realize, like how much like that kind of the plot is not important at all. It's like, or it's not even like action or stuff like that. There's like that part where like that one guy's like trying to chase Cosmo down, and he's just like, it's just like 5 minutes of him like jumping through doors and like firing off a gun, and then it just cuts back to him at the club, like nothing happened. Like they never follow up on it. There's never a conclusion to it. It's like that guy's just still shooting stuff still shooting empty air in the water.
Come on, goddamn it! Bam, bam. He's like, I don't think he's behind that wall, dude. You've done shot the hell out of it.
Well, at some point I was like, it's like I think he's fired all the rounds he had in his revolver, and it's like, oh, he took one off that one guy that Cosmo killed, and now he's got 2 guns.
Yeah.
It's like you said, your best, the easiest reload is just another gun.
Fastest reload is a fresh gun. Remember that, folks. Nothing else from this podcast. But yeah, I was amazed though, because sometimes I do things up and I'll watch videos to research them and see what other people said. Some of those videos with those guys like those those real, what do you call them, cinephile guys?
Yeah,
who really know movies and understand how to dissect them. Usually with some of these like denser movies like this, they'll all be like, oh, it was a wonderful movie, let me tell you idiots why. This movie was kind of divisive. Like half those guys are like, yeah, I liked it, these are the things I like. But then some of those guys are like, yeah, this movie was a poor follow-up to his last one. It was the pacing was terrible, the dialogue wasn't that good. Like even the guys who really get into this stuff were kind of, it was very divided. It's like, I like this, but I didn't like that. So it was about a 50-50 split. And usually those guys are always like, this is a great piece of artwork.
Yeah.
But not this movie.
Well, that's 2 cuts, and I just watched the. I think they call the director's cut the shorter one.
Yeah. 2
This
minutes.
is the long one, but
Yeah.
I guess the other cut is like not completely different, but it's not necessarily like he didn't just make it shorter. He put different scenes in and stuff like that too.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's like an alternate cut, but still mostly the same movie. But that's available on Filmstruck. I didn't go as far as to watch both cuts, but
I just watched the long version.
yeah,
I got what I needed to out of it.
yeah.
I felt better about myself after it was over. How bad?
Thank God I don't own a weird strip club.
Yeah. With a strange man.
What was Mr. What the fuck's his name?
Mr. Sophistication?
Yes, Mr. Sophistication.
Yeah, something like that.
Near the end where it's like he's just sweating so much, and under those lights the makeup's just all baked off his fucking face.
Well, do you notice how much people were sweating in this movie?
Yeah.
There were a lot of scenes of dialogue where guys would be talking and then and it's like, oh, is that just the lighting? Or because I don't know how much was intentional in this movie and how much was just like, perfect. And scene. But yeah, this is another one. I haven't had any of these Filmstruck movies we've been watching so far that I really hated. There's a lot I didn't understand and I thought they were kind of weird, but
Yeah, well, like I said, I didn't necessarily like this movie, but it was mostly because it was slow paced. There wasn't even really an attempt at a plot for like the first hour of the movie. But like I said, I appreciate it. Like I can see a lot of stuff there, and then like when I learned about this is less about like a crime movie and more like a kind of an esoteric look at an artist.
yeah.
Trying to get noticed, or at least trying to have other people understand them, and you just don't. Like, that's when it's like, oh, this is like, no, this works on 2 levels. That's kind of interesting.
This is a biopic.
Of course, you can kind of say that about any bad movie, like this, or at least those movies where it's like, I don't know, where it's like someone tried to be an auteur and failed completely. And the movie's not even the enjoyment of the movie is like how this relates back to the director somehow.
Well, I think with this movie, what framed it perfectly for me and what made the most sense was that as soon as I saw that opening scene where they're in that cafe and he's paying off the bookie, and just how he was kind of looking around and people would talk, and then he just paid the guy off, and then they sort of came back out and were just talking for a little bit. It's like, oh, this is going to be this whole movie. Like,
Yeah.
immediately set it up for me. It's like, I'm going to have to put on my patience cap because that's what this movie's going to be.
But I also thought Ben Gazzara was just strangely captivating too. So it's like, wow, I'll watch this. This guy's
Yeah.
interesting character.
Oh yeah, definitely. So check it out, folks. Killing of a John Cassavetes joint. You can sit down and watch that Terrence Malick stuff. You can watch this. Well, you can always drive me in with. You can always draw me in with compelling dialogue too. It's sometimes I think it's just interesting to watch people talk,
Yeah.
and like Quentin Tarantino does it better than anybody. Where it's like, oh, these conversations, yeah, people talk like this. But even like that, one of my favorite scenes in a movie like that was the thief scene. I was actually going to play it on the show, but I couldn't. I didn't want to play a 15-minute dialogue on a podcast. But it's where he's in the cafeteria talking to the girl, like, why should you marry me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a criminal. I'm a loser. I dropped out of high school. I did, he just named all this stuff, but it was such a compelling dialogue scene. But it was really two people in a diner just talking. But it was really cool because it was well acted. It was well written, and this movie was well acted. It was well improvised. But it was you can always sucker me in with that. Because dialogue is just better than exposition unless you're doing a movie with a super complex plot.
Yeah.
I always prefer dialogue just to like, this is how we're going to break into the whatever.
Wait, because that's how you reveal characters, through dialogue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And, when you have a movie that's plot driven, that's when people do things well, when they find ways to have good dialogue that reveals character and plot at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't just put this here to reveal this to the audience.
Yeah, when it seems to go naturally, it's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a sucker for good dialogue. Also a sucker for complicated plot points and things like that, too. So. All right, folks. Well, I think that's about it.
All right.
So this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Conlon. Goodbye, America.